Chris, yep. That's really about it. That's really about it.
A donut and LaVisca Chenault. That's the record.
Let's get this sucker started.
The state of North Carolina covers 53,000 square miles. It is the habitat of the feared Carolina Panthers. Get dialed in, Panthers fans, for an in-depth look at your team. Exclusive interviews, locker room insight. Let's huddle up for Panthers Playbook. Here are your hosts, Dennis Cox and Chris Lee.
Welcome back to another episode of Panthers Playbook. That's Chris Lee, Dennis Cox here with you. Another loss, 0-5 now for the Carolina Panthers, 42-24. This time on the road at Detroit against the Lions. We're going to get into Bryce Young. Looked better. I think he showed a lot of poise, bouncing back from those early interceptions. I have my Frank Reich blunder that I want to point out. And, we can just kind of rinse and repeat week one against the Atlanta Falcons. Chris, before we get into that, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you leave comments, thoughts on this game, thoughts on Frank Reich, thoughts on Bryce Young. You name it. Let us know in the comment section below here on YouTube. And make sure you smash the subscribe button, hit the likes and all that. Leave the comments. But first things first, Chris. Too many turnovers once again, and way too many points coming off of those turnovers. That's the difference in the game. It's just like week one against Atlanta. Turnovers,
Absolutely.
turnovers.
Yeah, 3 turnovers for the Carolina Panthers, 2 interceptions for Bryce Young, and then the fumble from Miles Sanders definitely looks like week one. And
they got 21 points off it.
The difference was that you have a better offensive team that can score touchdowns off of those every single time, which is what Detroit did. Now, I don't want to play the if game, but you have to look at it in these terms. If the Panthers take care of the ball, their offense didn't look very bad. Their offense actually generated points on their own without help from the defense. So if you don't turn it over, the Lions maybe only have 21 points. Now, they probably would have, gotten some other scores here or there. The game would have looked differently. So you don't want to look at it like that. But at the same time, they don't put up 42 on you without those. And that's where, you have a lot of the concern. Now, the first one, the screen, Aiden Hutchinson just made a great play. I mean, honestly, I can't even fault Bryce on that. I think that's probably Bryce's welcome to the NFL moment because, in college, you complete that. In the NFL, and you have Aiden Hutchinson's out there and TJ Watt's out there and these guys who are just hyper athletic and they can make these great individual plays like that. Now, probably going forward, he's when it's that close, when he's that covered, he's probably going to throw that into the dirt. That's a teachable moment.
Yeah.
The second interception, should have probably seen that happen, right? Like, you think that I don't think that the DB is going to crash down on Ian Thomas, excuse me.
Yeah.
You saw him kind of go back and drift into the play. So, if it was a different receiver, maybe that window is open. But Bryce, you got to know better than that. And Miles Sanders, he's probably been the biggest disappointment of the Panthers signings from the offseason. Honestly, I would probably say he is the biggest disappointment. And just puts the ball on the ground again. And just inopportune time. The Panthers actually did a pretty good job of moving the ball down the field today. So, when you're helping to stop the momentum like that, Miles Sanders, you're not adding to what the team can possibly do and not helping them to try to win games.
So, where this game was lost, in my opinion, was Panthers were down 14-0. One of them after the an interception early by Aiden Hutchinson led to a touchdown eventually. Also, the first drive was like a big 42-yard run by David Montgomery.
3 plays.
Yeah,
3
plays.
Immediately
gone.
Scores.
Immediately gone. So you're down 14-0. Panthers responded back with a nice long, was a 14-play drive, if I remember correctly. Got a touchdown to Tommy Tremble. It's like, okay, did defense gets a stop? They get a turnover on downs. It's like, okay, this is the opportunity for Carolina to really flip this thing back around, get points back again on the board. You got the stop that you needed on defense. That's when you got the Miles Sanders fumble. Before you know it, a few plays later, touchdown Detroit. Next play from scrimmage for Carolina, that second interception from Bryce Young. One play later, trick play, 32 yards, touchdown. Before you know it, as opposed to being down 14-7, it's 28-7, game, set, match. That was in the second quarter. I know Carolina responded and they came back. They got a field goal at the end of the half, but guess what? It was over by that point.
Yeah, the game was over.
It was over by that point. They had 21 points, did the Detroit Lions in the first half off of 3 turnovers. Go back to week 1 against Atlanta. 17 points off of turnovers. That's the difference in the game. Yeah. Go to week 2. You're driving down the field. You get strip sacked against the Saints. They end up going down the field and end up scoring as well. You also go into Seattle. Tons of penalties and mistakes. Cost you that game. Last week, you're moving the ball down the field for strip sack, fumble, taking back the other way for a touchdown. I'm like, this team cannot get out of its own way. They just continue to make things more difficult for themselves. And as a Panthers fan, I know you're probably furious and ticked off right now because this team continues to bite itself in the butt.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it, when you talk about all the turnovers, when you talk about all of the penalties and all of that, it really does come down to coaching. Like, what is happening?
Coaches and players too, yeah.
What is happening in those meeting rooms? What is happening on the practice field where this isn't getting through to guys?
Yeah.
The Panthers were a little better as far as penalties today, but still, some early penalties that you just don't like. And you never like, starting behind the sticks or anything like that. So a lot of this really does come down to coaching. Now, I think that there are small areas of improvement. So Frank Reich isn't just, lying out his butt when he's saying that. There are small areas of improvement every week, but it's not enough because it's not like this was a team that was starting over. This was a team that literally was maybe a couple of injuries away from making the playoffs last year with an interim head coach, right?
Yeah.
So there's no excuse besides, bad coaching for them to be in this position and look as bad as they have in those situations.
And here's something that Frank Reich said to like Anish Shroff and the guys on the radio call, because he has not only his post-game press conference that's for the whole media, but he does this individual interview post-game with the Carolina Panthers radio network. So he told them, hey, we're still like this season, like we're about this season, not about the future. I was like, well, you might need to shift your focus a little bit now because you're 0-5. Your future is Bryce Young. You need to focus on that. Speaking of Frank Reich, talking about getting better, here's another spot where you can get better. We talked about last week how late in the first half they didn't use the timeouts when they had them, and Eddie Pinheiro bailed them out with a 56-yard field goal. Here's the big coaching blunder I thought of this week. I'm like, this is 100% on Frank Reich. 3rd and 1. This is when the Carolina Panthers got the touchdown drive with Tommy Tremble. 3rd and 1. First quarter ends, come out to start the second quarter. 3rd and 1. They put Andy Dalton out there for the quarterback sneak. Okay, that's what you decided to do. You knew that coming out of a break, coming out of the end of a quarter, which you have like 3 minutes with a commercial break and then some time, right? You go the QB sneak with Andy Dalton. You pick up the first down. You didn't know what play you were going to run next? You guys had to call a timeout? Like, because you couldn't get personnel and couldn't get everyone up to the line of scrimmage? I'm sorry, you didn't know what play you were going to run, knowing exactly what the result of your quarterback sneak was going to be. Like, hey, we're going to get a first down. We're going to get a yard, maybe 2. You knew exactly where you're going to be, just inside the 20-yard line, and you didn't know what play you wanted to run? You should have had Bryce Young standing right next to you on the sideline like, all right, remember, we're running this play. Go. And you knew what personnel and everything had to go in there. Like, you wasted a timeout. Now, it didn't come back to bite you, but the fact that you were unprepared coming after a long, TV timeout at the end of a quarter. Frank Reich, what the heck are you doing?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. There's no excuse for that. I know it didn't come back to bite you, but this is further proof that he continues to get in his own way and clearly does not have a full understanding of everything that's going on around him as a head coach. Time for you to maybe turn some duties over to other people.
And Bryce Young took the fall for that after the game. And that's one of those things where I feel like that's been happening way too much, right? Like, of course, you're the quarterback. You're going to take the blame for certain things. But, I'm looking at the clock, Bryce. I'm noticing that you're not getting the play in until there's 17 seconds left on the play clock, right? you reset between plays at 40 seconds. So there's 23 seconds that were wasted, and you're like, what's the play? And then now you're getting at 17, and then you got to break. Everybody's got to get in their spots. You got to motion guys wherever you have to, look at the defense, analyze. Do you have to check out? A lot of times you just don't have that time to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's something happening on a communication front that's just not working for the Carolina Panthers, or it's something that just got to get better with. So I'm 100% with you on that. I will say, though, today they used more tempo.
Imagine that.
Which looked a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
They pushed the ball down the field.
Mm-hmm.
They even used Laviska Shenault out of the backfield. My man was the best running back today, averaging 5.4 yards per carry. Literally caught the defense off guard. And that's when the running game started to open up a little bit, because they were getting stopped 1 and 2 yards. You know what I'm saying? Before that. Then you start using Laviska Shenault and start having some motions and doing some different things behind the line of scrimmage. All of a sudden, it starts opening it up a little bit. What a concept. What a concept. Frank Reich, give away those play calling duties. You don't need it. You need to be able to focus on situations like clock management, getting the play in time, and what the strategy is moving forward. You don't need to have the play calling duties anymore.
To me, there's no excuse for a coach who is now in his 6th season as a head coach, as a former longtime offensive coordinator, and a former quarterback in the NFL. If you don't have clock management down now yet, you never will. You just flat never will. Because guess what? You've been around long enough to know.
What this made me think about, though? I was kind of like, I wanted to go back and do my homework. Like, where were the Colts at? And they had Chuck Pagano before Frank Reich.
Yeah.
Things kind of weren't looking good, towards the end, of course.
Well, yeah, because the Peyton Manning injury and all that stuff.
Well, they had Andrew Luck.
That was before Andrew Luck and all that came
about. But
he,
Frank Reich came in at the end of Andrew Luck, because that's when he retired. But I was starting to think, like, well, wait a minute. Even though the last year of Chuck Pagano didn't really go well, he was still over 500 as a coach for the Colts. So it's not like Frank Reich took over for a bad team.
No.
Right? This time he took over for a bad team. And so it's starting to make me wonder, did Frank Reich really do that well on his own as a head coach?
Good point.
Or did he just kind of keep a ship that was already, for the most part, steadied? When Andrew Luck leaves with the he decides to retire early because he had so many head injuries and everything like that. He wanted to save his life and everything like that. Cool, we appreciate it. All you had to do was just bring in veteran quarterbacks to keep it running. That's all you had to do.
Which they tried to do.
He hasn't been able to. We haven't seen him take a rookie quarterback or a young quarterback and develop them as a head coach. I'm not going to take away his time with Carson Wentz when he was with the Philadelphia Eagles. Not going to take that away from him. But as a head coach, I haven't seen you develop a young quarterback. I haven't seen you take a team who was already down and bring them up. You've actually brought the Carolina Panthers down lower than what they were. You only kept the ship steadied with the Colts. So now I'm starting to question the decision to bring Frank Reich in.
Yeah.
Starting to question it. Things can always turn around, but I'm starting to question it right now.
Remember as well that he took over in 2018 as the Indianapolis Colts head coach. Ironically, that was the year that the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl, where he was previously the offensive coordinator. Just saying. So, yeah, I'm sorry, like, where has he actually really been, like you said, fully successful? Because one of the things about the Indianapolis Colts when he took over there was a lot of people said, hey, this is actually one of the better rosters in the entire league, but they just didn't have the quarterback because obviously as you mentioned, the Andrew Luck retirement, hence why they brought in the Phillip Rivers and they went and got Carson Wentz and they tried things out with Matt Ryan and those kinds of things. It didn't work out. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I know they made the playoffs in 4 seasons, they made the playoffs in 2 of the 4 seasons that he was there. But I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah.
One of those seasons was with Andrew Luck. Then they had the 7-9 season with Jacoby Brissett. Then they brought in Phillip Rivers and won 11-5. Then just a whole bunch of average. Like, it's just a whole lot of average.
Yeah.
And this is the thing that I kind of bring up once again is we've talked about this a lot. is he the right guy to develop Bryce Young? And right now, I know before the season, I thought like with the staff that they brought in, right? This quote unquote all-star coaching staff with Thomas Brown, with McCown as a QB coach, with Jim Caldwell, with Reich. Like, there's no reason why a rookie quarterback should fail. We said that. We actually said we should revisit this conversation real quick, Chris.
Yeah.
Is that we had the conversation before the season, is that with all the guys that they brought in, again, the quote-unquote all-star coaching staff, there's no reason why a rookie quarterback should fail. There's no reason why a rookie quarterback should fail or should not be developed properly. Right now, not getting either of those. Not saying Bryce is perfect, not trying to absolve Bryce Young from anything. He definitely has made his mistakes, as a rookie quarterback should.
I'll say this.
But I got questions, man.
I'll say this. I know that we put a lot of unrealistic expectations on rookies, especially now in this age. And then, especially somebody like Bryce Young, who won a Heisman and played at a very high level in college and all of that. If we take a step back and realize that this is a rookie who's made rookie mistakes, that probably has exceeded the expectations for rookies. If we were go back, let's say, in like 90s or early 2000s standards
totally
for quarterbacks. You feel me?
Yeah.
Peyton Manning looked horrible early on. Matthew Stafford looked horrible early on. Troy Aikman looked horrible early on. And those guys ended up being greats, okay? Now, everything that you just said, all the things that we've noticed so far, whether it's protection, whether it's not having time to throw, whether it's been horrible play calling, the windows tightening up because you don't have receivers who can get the separation. You have the pre-snap penalties. You have Bryce Young showing frustration for the first time last week where he just looked like he was just over it and sounded like he was about to cry to us, talking to us post-game. A lot of the things that we've been complaining about at the end of the day really does come down to coaching.
Yeah.
That's why I've been taking it easy on Bryce Young. Because I expected Bryce Young to make mistakes. He's a rookie. He's still only – this was what, his fourth game?
Fourth start. That's it.
Fourth start. We can't expect him to be Tua. We can't expect him to be Patrick Mahomes. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, it even took time for Tua to be what he is right now. Took Mahomes, like, he sat for a year.
It's crazy. So a lot of it really does come down to the coaching aspect of it. And I can give Bryce Young a pass. And if you look at it, like, again, his quarterback rating went up every week. It went down a little bit last week from last week. This week from last week, excuse me. But he's shown more improvement every week. This week, putting it down the field, even though he had the 2 interceptions and didn't have as high of a quarterback rating as he did last week. He's pushing it down the field. What else do you want Bryce to do?
Yeah.
He can't run the routes. He can't protect himself. He can't get the running game going.
It's not his fault Miles Sanders fumbled the ball to keep time. Just saying. Just going to throw that out there right now. All right. The bye week can't come fast enough. Next week, Miami Dolphins. Have fun. Have fun, especially with this defense. We didn't really talk about the defense in this game.
I was going to say, we got to sit a little bit on the defense, though.
Yeah. Defense banged up without, 4 starters again?
Yeah.
Just constantly nicked up. You know what? It stinks for them that they got put in the situations of constantly having to defend against a turnover. But I will say this: any defense in those, they call them sudden change situations in football. Anytime there's a turnover, something like that, sudden change, you want to hold a team to a field goal or less.
Yes,
that's the thing. Hold a team to a field goal or less. And I will say this is where the defense has not held up that end. Like, sometimes you got to bail out your offense. They didn't do that this week.
I honestly felt like through everything the defense has gone through, the offense has put them in some horrible situations.
Oh, yeah.
Every week this year. But the first 4 weeks, the defense held up. Now, this is the best offensive team. Well, I wouldn't say the best offensive team because the Vikings are pretty good. But this
one's better. This team can run the ball.
Yeah. So this is the best offensive team that they've gone against all year. And I get it. It's going to be tough. And you're without Shaq. You're without Xavier Woods. You're without Dante Jackson. You're without J.C. Horn. We get it. It's going to be tough.
And
but
Detroit was out without Amon-Ra St. Brown this game.
And Jahmyr Gibbs.
And Jahmyr Gibbs.
And in defense, you didn't hold up your end of the bargain. Like, I'm sorry, you were put in horrible situations. But the defense did not hold up their end of the bargain. And it just really felt like Detroit could get whatever they want. I mean, that first drive, the first drive, honestly, was when I knew it was over. Because it was just like literally, it was 3 plays. Like, the Panthers had a first drive. They punt the ball, go 31 yards after 8 plays. Like, okay, it's looking decent. At least it wasn't a 3 and out. Literally 3 plays, 81 yards in a minute and 17 seconds.
Yep.
Like, you get I'm flabbergasted just like thinking about that. Like, it was just like some quick pass plays, boom, boom, move the chains each time. And then all of a sudden, a 42-yard run up the gut from David Montgomery, and I'm disappointed because at least what we always said was the defense is what's going to have to keep the Carolina Panthers in the game, and that is unfair to the defense. But you're in that situation every single week. You're going to have to keep them into the game because the offense is going to let you down at some point, whether it's turnovers, whether that's not moving the ball down the field, establishing a run, protecting the quarterback, whatever it may be. You got to do your job. And I know that you're 4 starters down, but you got to do a little bit better. Yep. I am disappointed in the defensive line and the pass rush. Yes, the Panthers got 2 sacks in the second half, but it was basically, the game was already over. Yeah. So, yeah, cool. Good job, Brian Burns. You got your sack. Good job, C.J. Henderson. You got your sack. It wasn't during the time where you could have possibly came back and won the game. I'm sorry. It doesn't mean as much. And the defensive line and the outside linebackers, Justin Houston, like, what do we sign you for? Because I don't think Justin Houston has made any difference at all. Might as well put DJ Johnson out there, and they've been doing that.
Justin Houston did not register a tackle today.
Doesn't surprise me.
So, yeah. So, it's like, at this point, just play DJ Johnson. Just do it. Like,
or
just play
Yetur
DJ
Gross-Matos.
Play those guys. There's no point. Play Amari Barno. You know what? You could trade Justin Houston away for like 2029 bag of footballs. Doesn't matter. Just play the young guys right now. That's really it.
I can't wait till Marquise Haynes come back, man. Like, I didn't think I was going to say that. Marquise Haynes, come back and save us.
Said no Panther fan ever. That's Chris Lee. All right. Dennis Cox here with you. This has been Panthers Playbook. Make sure you subscribe, hit the like button. Again, leave comments, your thoughts on the game as well. Also, follow us on your favorite podcast platform. We're going to have a link in the description. That way you can take us with you wherever you go. We're going to have a new episode out on Thursday, getting you ready for the Dolphins. Gosh.
Boy, that's going to be – listen, I just hope that they play that game better than what the Broncos played their game against the Dolphins. Just don't let them score 70. Like, that is the standard for me. Don't let them score 70.
First win of the season, didn't give up 70 to the Dolphins. That'll be the first win. Momentum into the bye week, folks. Until next time, enjoy yourselves.